People carry this quiet belief like it's common sense. If you drift too far, something will pull you back. A deadline will force discipline. A wake-up call will show up at the right time. The right person will say the right thing. The right opportunity will finally make you lock in. And until then, you can coast a little, because life has a way of correcting itself. It sounds reasonable because it mirrors how other parts of life work. When a bill is due, the system reminds you. When your car needs an inspection, there's a sticker. When you miss an appointment, you get a notification. The world is full of guardrails, so it's easy to assume your focus has guardrails too, that if you lose it, someone or something will come along and reset you. And people say the same belief in a softer version. I'm just in a season. I'll get serious when this season passes. Or, once I have more time, I'll refocus. The idea underneath is calm and comforting. You don't have to become a different person today, because later will force it out of you anyway. You can delay the hard part because the future will handle the consequences and somehow hand you the motivation you've been waiting on. That belief feels true because modern life is engineered to carry you. You can be distracted and still function. You can be half present and still get by. Food shows up with a tap. Entertainment shows up without effort. Work can be done in bursts, and the rest can be filled with noise. Even stress has shortcuts. Scroll for relief, binge for comfort, numb out for a night, then call it recharging. There's also a real emotional appeal. The belief protects your self-image. If you tell yourself help is coming, you don't have to admit you're the one who let the wheel go loose. It keeps you from feeling guilty. It lets you believe you're still the type to be disciplined. You're just waiting on the right conditions to return. And conditions do change sometimes, so it feels logical to wait for the perfect window. You've seen it play out in ways that look like proof. A friend gets a health scare and suddenly starts taking care of themselves. Someone gets fired and suddenly becomes focused. A breakup flips a switch. A big move resets habits, so the brain files that away. Dramatic events create discipline. The problem is, you don't choose those events. And most days aren't dramatic. Most days are just Tuesday, and Tuesday never announces itself as the day you drifted. Here's where the belief quietly breaks. It assumes the world cares about your direction the way you care about it. It assumes there's a referee watching the game, ready to blow the whistle when you step out of bounds. But reality is more indifferent than cruel. Life doesn't correct your course. It simply responds to your momentum. The hidden expectation is that consequences will arrive early and clearly enough to scare you straight. But for most people, consequences show up late, subtle, and disguised as normal. You don't collapse. You just get slightly more tired. You don't fail. You just stop following through. You don't ruin your life. You just get used to being inconsistent until inconsistency feels like your personality. And when reality diverges from the expectation, it's because your environment keeps letting you slide. You can still pay your bills. You can still show up to work. You can still look fine on the outside. So the mind says, see? I'm okay. That's the first crack. If you isolate the single flawed assumption, it's this: that motivation will be delivered from the outside on schedule, strong enough to override your current habits. But external pressure can't create inner direction. It can create panic, short bursts, or compliance. It cannot teach you to aim yourself. Direction is an inside job, and nobody else can do it for you. When you believe someone is coming to refocus you, the cost isn't immediate. That's why it's dangerous. The cost is drift. And drift compounds quietly because it turns into a pattern of letting yourself slide without a consequence you can point to. First, you start outsourcing your standards. You let notifications decide your attention. You let moods decide your effort. You let what's urgent decide your day. Over time, your life becomes a series of reactions instead of choices, and you stop noticing because it feels normal to be pulled around. The bigger loss is identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who follows through, not because you made a big mistake, but because you made 1,000 tiny surrenders. 3 to 5 years forward, drift doesn't look like disaster. It looks like a person who is always almost ready, always about to get serious, always planning, saving posts, buying books, opening tabs, talking about change. And quietly, self-trust erodes. You stop believing your own promises, so you stop making them. Or you keep making them, but you don't feel anything when you break them, because breaking them has become familiar. That's the consequence people don't see. The slow trade of your future for your present comfort, paid in small installments you barely feel until the total hits. What's actually true is simpler than the belief. Nobody is coming to refocus your life, not because people don't care, but because your focus is not something other people can deliver. The world can interrupt you, tempt you, pressure you, and even punish you. It cannot hand you ownership. The stabilizing replacement is this: if you want your life to be aimed, you have to be the one who aims it. Repeatedly, quietly, without waiting for a moment that feels heroic. Your direction is not a mood. It's a stance you return to. In concrete terms, it means your day doesn't get back on track because you finally feel like it. It gets back on track because you decide what deserves your attention, and you protect that decision the same way you would protect something you value. It means you stop treating distraction as something that happens to you and start treating attention as something you steward. This isn't hype, and it isn't harsh. It's grounding. It's the relief of realizing you're not waiting on a rescue you can't control. You're waiting on a choice you can make. The moment you accept that, the story changes from, "I hope something fixes me," to, "I can be reliable." And reliability is more powerful than motivation because it doesn't require a special feeling to show up. Once you accept that no one is coming, your behavior shifts without you needing a list of tactics. The biggest change is internal. You stop negotiating with yourself like you're a stranger. You start holding yourself to a standard you can live with, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're tired of the gap between what you say and what you do. When you believe rescue is coming, you treat decisions as temporary. You tell yourself, "This doesn't count," because later you'll restart. When you stop believing that, decisions feel heavier in a good way, not stressful, real. You notice the moment you hand your attention away because you know you'll have to be the one to take it back. That awareness alone changes what you reach for. A simple example: you're about to begin something that matters to you, and your phone lights up. Under the old belief, you check it because you assume you can refocus later. Under the new belief, you see the trade. If you give your mind away now, there is no invisible force scheduled to return it. So you choose differently, not out of productivity guilt, but out of self-respect. This belief also changes how you handle bad days. Instead of waiting to feel like yourself again, you act like the person you claim to be, even in a smaller dose. You become consistent, not intense. And consistency builds a life that feels steady from the inside. This sets a quiet standard. You are the kind of person who returns to the wheel, not perfectly, not dramatically, but reliably. Your identity stops being someone with potential and becomes someone who follows through in small ways. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Standards aren't moral, they're personal. They're the line where you stop abandoning yourself. When you live as if nobody is coming, you stop making your future self pay for your present avoidance. You start doing the small follow-through that most people skip because it doesn't get applause. You close the loop. You keep the promise you made to yourself even if nobody knows it happened. And over time, that becomes self-trust. Not motivational self-trust, the kind that disappears when you're tired, but earned self-trust. The knowledge that you don't need perfect conditions to be dependable. You can be relied on by the one person you can't escape. That's the real flex. Quiet follow-through. The ability to say, "I do what I said I would do," without drama. When you hold that standard, you don't need to constantly restart your life. Because you're not living in a cycle of collapse and reset. You're living in a pattern of return. This is what people miss. Freedom isn't having no pressure. Freedom is having an inner standard that keeps you from drifting when pressure is absent. You don't need a new system. You don't need the perfect week to start fresh. And you don't need some future version of yourself to finally show up and take the wheel. The belief that something will arrive and refocus you is comforting because it turns delay into a temporary condition. It makes drift feel like a phase instead of a choice. It lets you keep the idea of your potential intact while your days quietly move in a different direction. And it makes sense why that story sticks. Modern life is built to pull you. People are busy. Everything is loud. Everyone is reacting. So you keep waiting for a calmer stretch, a clearer mind, a cleaner schedule, a moment when the noise dies down enough for you to hear yourself again. But the truth is, the noise does not die down on its own. The world does not hand you your focus back. Life doesn't pause to let you catch your breath and get serious. No one is coming to refocus your life, not because nobody cares, but because your life is not anybody else's responsibility to manage. People can encourage you, remind you, even inspire you for a moment, but they cannot carry the standard for you. They cannot hold the line when you're tired, bored, restless, or discouraged. They cannot protect your attention from the very things you keep allowing to spend it. And that's the hard part, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The cost of waiting isn't dramatic. It's subtle. It's the slow erosion of self-trust. It's the quiet moment where you realize you don't fully believe yourself anymore. Not because you're incapable, but because you've taught your mind over and over that your word is negotiable, that you'll do it later, that you'll get back to it, that you'll lock in when things settle down. And years can pass inside that sentence. The stabilizing truth is this: refocus isn't a feeling you find. It's an identity you keep. It's the moment you stop bargaining with distraction and stop waiting for permission to be consistent. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's a quiet decision that you will be the kind of person who returns to what matters again and again without needing a crisis to force it. So let the belief fall apart on its own, right here. If nobody is coming, then you don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to keep scanning the horizon for rescue, motivation, or the right time. You can live from a different place, one where your attention is yours, your standards are yours, and your direction isn't outsourced to circumstances. Not because you're chasing outcomes, but because you're done living in a way that makes you doubt yourself. That's the real resolution. The day doesn't get reclaimed when life gets easier. The day gets reclaimed when you decide your life belongs to you, fully, quietly, and for good.